podcast where everyone is welcome at the table, but of course, no one knows whose turn it is. This is Chris.
Hey, this is Anthony.
And this is episode 527. What expansion picks a game that you now love? We'd like to thank all our Patreon backers for helping you unlock a brand new episode. Hello, friends. Hello, folks. Hello, people out there in the universe. We are so glad to have you here again this week with BGA. As always, Anthony, we're talking about the latest and greatest in tabletop gaming. But for this special episode, it turns out the latest and greatest is not always necessarily the greatest, but it can be if the latest expansion fixes it.
Aha! I was wondering where you were going with that.
See
But
what I
I
did
caught
there?
up with you.
Yeah, see what I did there? That was good.
Yeah.
Off the cuff. Just cuffs.
Made it happen.
Yeah, I brought it there. Came back.
Yeah. No, we're going to talk about some good games today, but especially games that are good because of stuff that came after they came out. So
yeah, it's the unsung hero of the tabletop industry.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have the entire catalog of Fantasy Flight games plus a few other games.
Is LGC's on that list? Because that's literally
LCG. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's like
Okay, so this is Voice of the Gamers.
Voice of the Gamers. You people out there.
We have queried all of you out there to answer this question for us. I don't know if anybody said LCG, but we can absolutely add to the list if we want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a whole separate discussion because certainly certain releases definitely made the games better.
I can think of like at least 3 Fantasy Flight games off the top of my head that I thought were fine, and then with the expansion I love, and I've kept.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty normal thing that they do. Not anymore because they don't make games anymore, but back in the day when they made games, it was a thing.
Remember that the flight report? Remember that was the thing?
Oh yeah, they still do it, and it's sad now. We're doing this LCG. They don't even do that many LCG expansions.
No.
They used to have like a thing every month, and now it's like every 4 months. So like, here's 3 packs. So I'm like, all right, I guess.
And they just throw them at the audience and go, "Shut up, kids," and they walk out.
I don't even know when they're coming out anymore. I have to like actively go look for it because they don't pop up anywhere. They don't promote it. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you still here?
It's a very angry and depressed company at this point.
Pretty much.
They're just they're resigned to their fate, more or less.
Yeah.
But again, they were the happiest group of people on the planet, and they threw the best kind of preview parties in tabletop gaming, for sure. So, now that was the thing back in the day. And now it's completely a different thing, which is fine because we have other things that are also very cool, unique, and hip. So, let's talk about those things because they're a lot happier, Anthony. In particular, the Golden Geek Awards have been announced for 2024.
Yeah. We've got some winners of game competitions here. Honestly, they all make sense, but sure. I feel like the Golden Geeks always make sense because it's crowdsourced. Like, oh yeah, these are the most popular in each of these categories.
Sure. I think it's interesting though because I'm always surprised when I talk to gamers at conventions and I'm like, and BGG comes up and every so often, some people don't know that that's a thing.
Yeah.
They're just like, what? And I'm just like, how do you get your games? Like, how is that a thing for you? And they're like, I don't know. Just do. I'm like, okay, then.
Yeah, so, great. Good for you.
But yes, these are crowdsourced. And there is a number of different categories. These are not fun, necessarily, but they are good categories. So I guess we'll start, from the top here and think, Game of the Year. The light version of Game of the Year was Castle Combo.
That game I keep seeing everywhere that I have yet to play.
Ditto.
It's a tile laying game with some funny artwork. I'm sure I'd like it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it at a table.
Is that on Board Game Arena?
Ooh, what a good question. This is when we do some Google.
I think it might be.
I should play it then. I should play that if it's there.
I don't know. Might be a thing we might do. Game of the Year medium game. I know you like this one a lot, Anthony. Harmonies.
Harmonies, very good. I like Harmonies quite a bit. And yes, Castle Combo is on Board Game Arena, so these are both on Board Game Arena,
yes.
Which is a fascinating thing to think about. Is Board Game Arena going to push people towards awards because they get to play the games more often?
It's true.
More accessibly.
100%. I think a lot of these games get, I put a lot of extra time in with harmonies on Board Game Arena, and I don't own a copy of Castle Combos. This might be the only way. I will say though, historically, this has just generally been very true. As good as the digital implementations are in Board Game Arena, they're nowhere nearly as good as the physical, games in person.
Right.
So I guess you take a little bit, you lose a little bit. So now here's the one that we're really interested in, happy about here. Game of the year, Anthony, the Heavy.
Heavy games. Yep.
This is your favorite, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Not surprised, but happy. I'm excited. And not on Board Game Arena yet, but probably will be someday.
That's going to be a lot of screens.
Yeah, probably. They made Arnak work.
Yeah. SETI's bigger, though.
It is.
I mean, I think there's certain games that just don't work very well on a screen, like Agricola, Caverna, anything that has like multiple boards.
Yeah.
Because you need to see everything all at the same time to do the calculations in your head. And when you have to flip through multiple tabs,
right,
it's a little more difficult because like you have to conceive of it exactly at the same point, because now tab number 3 is giving you different information. You have to go back to tab 1 and go, okay, well, is this available? Go to tab 4. It's not available. Okay, but it's a little. That's where some of these games, as good as they are online, just lose me.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Yeah. I still think they'll do it because it's Shavatal and that's his thing. But
sure.
Whether they should do it, that's a different question.
Yeah, I don't. Some of these games just need a different format. I mean, again, if you had multiple screens, I think they play well. But I don't think Board Game Arena is designed that way as of yet.
Right.
Where you can kind of like put all the different, sections of the screen on different monitors.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Because I think that's what you have to do. You have to be able to do that.
Right.
And on the best 2-player game, not a terrible surprise here, Anthony, Lord of the Rings, The Duel for Middle-earth.
Yeah, duh.
All right, well, let me give you another hot take here. Best cooperative game, The Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game.
Duh!
Let's see if we can get you one note higher here, Anthony. Best party game, Flip 7.
Sure.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, again, party games I'm never going to have a strong opinion about. This one's also on Board Game Arena, though, so hold it down.
Best solo game, Slay the Spire, the board game.
No.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like it plays great solo, but it's just the video game.
It's not a solo game, people.
It is because it's co-op. You play one thing. It plays really well. I played it solo a bunch, but it's like it's not what it's meant to do.
No, I mean you could play the video game solo.
Yeah, like I play it solo because I like that formula and I don't want to look at the screen. But I don't know. We're on the same page here. You and I agree on this. This not the best pick for solo game, but I get why people would pick it.
This is a surprising award for me, Anthony. Here, best thematic game, SETI.
Yeah, I see it. I know you don't. We've had this argument offline, yes. So
yeah, and I do think it's overly abstracted, and I think there's a couple of thematic plot holes in there, but that's also not the reason why I'm surprised it's there. I'm also surprised because it's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
And
that's true. A heavy game winning best thematic game is interesting because you'd think it'd be like one of those bunch of dudes out on a board.
100%. Yeah, with a lot of pictures on it and a lot of cute little tokens. And like SETI is very abstracted. So I give tremendous credit to CGE for winning both of those categories, because as Anthony and I discovered in our initial impressions with the game, it's difficult to kind of like mentally wrangle what that game is initially until you really dig into it.
Yeah, but again, that was a terrible first impression.
Well,
that was presented poorly. That's not a good way to discuss the game. No, not a professional. Someone who hadn't done it before.
Somebody who was paid by the company.
That does not mean anything. A lot of people are paid by these companies and they're not good at it.
Well, some designers are not good at it either. To be fair,
Most designers are bad at it. Yeah,
there you go. So
they're all mathematicians and engineers. They're like,
dude,
yeah, and then it just works. They're like, what works? What are we doing?
at some point, someone's got to be responsible for this. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think it's a decently thematic game. I get why you think it's more abstracted, but I'm just saying.
I'm surprised, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm surprised and I'm delighted that people could see the theme in a game that's about spatial, reasoning and exploration for intelligent life out there in the universe, and that comes together for people. I think that's a heavy lift beyond the abstractness of the game. That's also a heavy lift. So I am very appreciative for the fact that they were able to pull this off. So no slights here,
No. Your opinion is super valid. I have no problem with it. I just I think it's a fun one to talk about.
No, I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad. I think it's a big credit to CGE for being able to pull that off. So
yeah, for sure.
It reminds me of the old days of Euro games where it's like really weird cover that doesn't really say necessarily anything, really weird name that doesn't necessarily say anything, and somehow it's just like, this is amazing. So bravo. Best artwork and presentation. This one's not as much of a surprise. Unconscious Mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's Dixit with worker placement, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For the artwork and presentation. Everything's beautiful and upgraded for that.
Yeah.
I would even recommend, if you have not picked this up, or if somehow you're looking to pick this up, you do not need the upgraded plastic components. Every time I play this game, I have the Super Deluxe version, and every time I play this, no matter who I play it with, I go, what would you like to play with? Would you like to play with the standard components, which are wood, screen printed, or the very well detailed plastic components, like incredibly well detailed and colored? And they're like, the wood components. And I'm like, well, there goes $50 or whatever I paid for that.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of like the unnecessarily plastic stuff when the wood is nice. If it's cardboard and you're replacing it with plastic, maybe.
Sure.
But
no, but the figures are actually very nice in the game, and I'm surprised, but again, I'm not mad at it, because again, the wood components are very nice in the game.
Very pretty game.
Yes. Most innovative game, Arcs.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Best war game, Arcs.
I feel bad for the war gamers.
Yeah,
right?
That's
just a representation issue. There's no way that's the best war game from last year. It's a very good game, and it's kind of war game adjacent, but there's no way that's the best war game from 2024.
Nope, not at all. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to piss a lot of people off with that one. I'm sorry.
The problem is, it's not that many people, because if it was, they would pick a different game. So.
Well, it also shows that war gamers are probably not on BGG in any kind of number.
Or all the board gamers voted in that category, and there's just more of them than there are war gamers.
But when you play the game, war is, I don't want to say it's accidental or unintentional, but I wouldn't consider a war game if you must have a war card in your hand to be able to play war.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
the combat in that game, it's always in service of a broader objective, and the objectives are abstracted from the actual combat of the game. Like, when we played it for the first time, Will won the game, and he didn't fight anybody ever. He just kind of stuck in his corner and did his thing, because that's how you can play the game. That's fine. Yeah. It's not a war game. I mean, it is a war game, but it's not that kind of war game.
It's a game that has war in it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it a war game as gamers would call it war games. Because if you said to me, come over for a game night of war games, I'd be like, like, no.
Right. It's tough. Whereas like Root, I would consider a war game, like a light spin on that.
Yeah.
Even PAX Pamir is kind of war game adjacent.
Yeah.
This is like we have 5 different genres blended together. One of those 5 is war game.
Yes. And considering that it's basically a trick-taking game, and war is one of like 1/5 or 1/6 of the actions you could take. So
yeah,
I don't know. Anyhow, and then best expansion, Arcs, the Blighted Reach expansion.
I mean, that makes sense considering this is the full game.
Yes.
This expansion is really just the other half of the game that we cut out so we could sell a smaller box. Which, not being cynical, I think it's a great strategy. I think more companies should do that and make things
100%.
accessible.
Yes.
But this is just the full game. So.
Yeah. And I again, I think it's sometimes one of those things where it's just like how the category is set up.
Right.
And if you love arcs and you see that that's in there, and again, most board gamers are not war gamers.
Right.
So maybe for board gamers, arcs is as heavy of a war game as they actually want to play.
Oh, sure.
So that's kind of, it's an interesting take.
Yeah.
Best print and play game, 52 Realms Adventures.
I have seen this around. It's like it uses a deck of cards, but it
Yeah.
has a bunch of other cool stuff going on with it. It looks interesting.
Nice. Best board game app, Dune Imperium. No surprise here.
Yeah. I feel like this one's been out for a while though, hasn't it? Like, did it just go 1.0 last year?
I don't know. I feel like it has. I think I got purchased the early, whatever it was, the beta version that before it like came official.
Because it was our pick for best digital implementation in 2023.
Uh-huh. So they must be behind as far as...
Like, they're waiting until the full 1.0 release.
I guess. I mean, there's really not a lot of board game apps out there. I think Board Game Arena's kind of like eaten that industry a little bit.
True.
So Board Game Arena is great, but also probably not great in some ways because it doesn't... Why bother? It's the new Steam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then best podcast, Beyond Solitaire.
Oh, great.
Our friend Elizabeth Davidson.
Yeah. Liz is awesome. She speaking to her recently, and she was like, "Go vote for Beyond Solitaire." I'm like, "Yeah, we will do so." So I'm glad that came through.
I'm glad that you were on the podcast to put it over the top. By the way, that was
it's all me. Yeah.
It was you. They were like, Anthony Chatfield. He's on a good podcast for once.
Oh, come on now.
Oh, come on. Just an honor to be nominated. That's all I have to say. We weren't nominated either. It's fine.
No, it's all good. But yeah, Liz is awesome, and I know she's been up for it a few times over the years, so it's awesome to see it come through.
Absolutely. Well, there's your winners. Thank you everybody for voting. I think it's really cool that BGG does this every year. It's good to have your voice out there. And again, obviously, thank you everybody who voted for our nomination for the best podcast. It's well appreciated.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony. That's pretty much what's going on in BGG world. But beyond that, BGA world, our little podcast. After the podcast ends, after the moon rises, after things get a little crazy, after hours, there's a podcast, man, on Patreon.
Yeah. After hours this week, we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. We have a giant list, and you know what? We kind of just go with the flow. That's the whole point. It's after hours. It's off script.
Yes.
So we might be talking about Andor. We might be talking about Thunderbolts. We might be talking about the economic collapse of the Western Hemisphere.
Again?
We might be talking about again. Might be talking about the collapse of a bunch of websites online, talking about video games. Things are collapsing all over the place. Or we might just talk about fun stuff on TV. It'll be
the
fun.
Pope.
Or the Pope. the Pope from Chicago. Yeah.
Papa Americano.
Oh my gosh. The Pope is a White Sox fan.
I know. Sad. Well, somebody has to be.
Yeah, I was about to say the worst team in history now. Yeah.
Well, it would take literally a miracle to actually get them a World Series ring, but maybe now they have it.
That's true. You got the Pope on your side.
You got the Pope on
you have no excuse to lose.
He's got to bless that team at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So we do after hours episode on patreon.com. Our Patreon backers have full access to that amongst a number of other podcasts and other materials and Discord channels and a lot of other fun stuff where you can talk to Anthony and I directly all the time. And it's just a great time to connect with a lot of great gamers out there. And as always, thank you all for supporting us. If it wasn't for you all on Patreon, we would not be here. So thank you greatly for all your support, whether it's financial, whether it's sharing the podcast, whether it's just downloading and listening, maybe sharing with another person. It means the world to us. All right, Anthony, but that's not the only thing that's happening. We're continuing being a bunch of giant nerds, and we're doing a board game book club kind of thing.
Heck, yeah, we are. Board Game Club announced last week, so definitely check that out. We are having our first official presentation of BGA Board Game Club on June well, the episode releases on June 18th. But we will be discussing it, and you should have your comments in by June 13th. That's a Friday, because that is when we were recording this discussion. So the idea here is we're all going to play Terraforming Mars.
Ooh.
I
Together?
am. You are. Yeah, 400 people. We're all going to play it in our own pace, in our own way, online, BGA, on Steam,
In person?
in our physical space, like a
Wow.
normal game night thing, which is crazy.
All the expansions? None of the expansions?
No, not all the expansions. Are you crazy?
All the expansions.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, all of you should just play it however you like to play it, and then
Okay.
bring that with you to the conversation. If you're like a Venus apologist, play with Venus.
Oh,
bring
no.
that in. I want to hear about it.
I want someone to play with all the expansions.
I have played with all the expansions one time, and it took us 7.5 hours.
You say it's like a bad thing.
It was a bad thing. It's too long.
I played with all the expansions too, to be fair.
Yeah,
I've
no,
done it.
it's fun because it was a good group of people, and I enjoyed playing with them. But I was like, this game should not be 7.5 hours. This is
I
not
haven't
Twilight
played
Imperium.
with, was it Prelude 2? Is that out yet?
It is, yeah.
Okay, I haven't played with that yet.
I mean, it's just more Prelude cards.
I haven't Prelude the Prelude.
Yeah, Preluded the Prelude.
Yeah, it's like Andor. It's a prelude to a prelude.
Yeah, exactly. Double prequel.
Double prequel.
So, anywho, play it however you want to play it, but we're going to start posting stuff. If you go to the Discord, there is a channel up there now. Just says Game Club.
Mm-hmm.
Hop in there, leave comments, discussion. I'm going to start posting questions. I'm going to post some threads on Blue Sky, on Facebook, and Discord, on Patreon, where you can respond with a comment, with a question, with an observation, with a hot take, whatever you got. Any of the above. We want all of that. We're gonna do a deep dive discussion on Terraforming Mars in June. So you got about a month, and it's a game. We're not asking you to read a book or anything. Play a game. It'll take a couple hours.
You do know there's a rule book in there, right?
Yeah, but this game's been out for 9 years. People know the rules by now.
So no spoilers? Are we doing spoilers?
No spoilers for Terraforming Mars. There are novels.
That's true.
Right?
This
Yeah.
RPG coming soon. So,
Yeah. There's a story. I don't know what it is.
There's supposed to be a movie or something they talked about at one point. Remember?
I mean, okay. Well, we don't have to go down that road today.
No,
we can do that in June. So, anywho, Terraforming Mars, check it out. Board Game Club launches June 18th, and we're looking forward to it.
Excellent. All right, so we hope to join you all there to talk about the fun stuff. But Anthony, let's get on to the rest of the episode. Let's talk about things that we love to talk about. Turns out they're tabletop games, man.
Yeah.
And let's roll for preview here.
Rolling it up.
All right, well, I got 2 quickies for you this week. Something recently popped up on Board Game Geek that I wanted to talk about. Recent announcement. 2 games that are coming out at an undisclosed kind of time, typically around September.
Yeah.
We're looking at Gen Con. We're looking at Essen, more particularly. And we are first looking at 7 Wonders. I know you know it. I know you love it. Dice.
7 Wonders Dice. Okay.
Dice. So this is completely produced, taken care of from Repros Production. It's supposed to hit U.S. market September 19, 2025. Good luck with that. And so there's dice in the game, and there's not much more information about that. So according to the very ever so briefly description, during the game, you will construct a wonder that defies time, makes scientific advancements, develops commerce, manage your resources, and handle your gold reserve prudently, all while keeping an eye on neighboring cities, since ignoring them has a heavy price. I wish they were a little more specific, because we all know 7 Wonders. I don't know.
Yeah, what is that? What is the point of all that?
It's
all I really want to know here is it a dice game that you're like building a tableau of dice, or are you somehow writing stuff down? Is it a roll and write? Because if it's a roll and write, I'm not really interested.
Same.
If it's a tableau builder with dice, that sounds cool.
Well, they say you're building your civilization, so like you said, there has to be, if you're rolling dice, it has to either be a rolling right or some weird, not necessarily a dexterity game. Maybe it's a tableau building with dice, because Seven Wonders is a tableau building game with cards.
Yeah.
Maybe you roll dice and then you put them on a board to kind of lock them in to like certain spots.
That would be cool.
That'd be fun. I don't want to roll and write.
No.
Anton, seriously, don't do the roll and write thing, man. Just saying. Like, but yeah, that's a thing that's coming out, and very interesting. And then another oddity that's supposedly coming out in Q3 of 2025. Anthony, it's Slam Throne. Slam Throne. So
is this that Pogs game?
This is 100% Dice Throne, the game with boards and dice where you're basically it's a 2-player game, but you can play with multiple players at the table, where you roll dice to gain abilities, and then you attack the other players at the table. It's typically D&D theme, at least initially. It's got its own kind of universe, and recently they kind of brought in Marvel IP, and it's very popular. The art is excellent to the game, and they were like, I guess they must have been like, let's do Pogs. If you remember Pogs,
how could I forget Pogs? Whew, Pogs, man.
So if you don't know Pogs, then I don't know.
Then you're not a millennial.
I guess not. So Pogs are just basically, I guess, at least in this game, at least how they show it. And there's actually a trailer on YouTube where you can watch ever so briefly. They show 2 players. They show a stack of Pogs, and the Pogs are just these little circle chits. You stack them up. That's your player health. Somebody else has a slammer. It's this heavy, thick kind of Pog, and it slams it down on your Pog stack, which are caps. And based on how they kind of flip from either one side or the other, you either keep that health or you lose that health. And your particular slammer is one of the characters in the original game that has a special ability that you'll be able to implement either before, during, or after of the slamming of the slammer, so to speak. And we should also mention too, this is not a just like a core box set. You're actually having to purchase blind bags or blind boxes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Now I hate it.
I know.
Okay.
So they're looking to make money.
I didn't think it was actually Pogs, because that's what it was back in the day. You wanted Pogs; they were like hard to find. You had to like get them in stuff, and they were rare. And
yeah, so this will be coming out at Gen Con, and they are small bags, and they come with 1 to 4 slammers plus 20 caps.
I'm surprised it took this long for someone to be like, "Let's bring back Pogs."
I'm very surprised by that too.
32 years, 30 years. It's been a long time.
It's a very surprising thing, again, considering the fact that it's so marketable with those blind bags.
I have a very specific memory, and this will make a lot of people very upset, but I have a very specific memory in 3rd or 4th grade of my friend trading alpha or beta Magic the Gathering cards for a Pog slammer. One single Pog slammer. It was like 4 or 5 cards. Because they're around the same time.
Yeah.
And being very excited about it. And probably, maybe someday realized how much money they gave away. And to be fair, we were like 10 years old. There's no way those cards would have survived long enough to be worth anything. But still, thousands of dollars worth of cards for a little piece of plastic with like the Hawaiian Punch Man on it or whatever it was. I don't remember. My Kool-Aid Man Pog.
Aw. Yeah, this was not my generation. I was a little too old for the Pogs, but I knew of the Pogs. I did not personally Pog, but
I think most people know Pogs from like The Simpsons making jokes about the Pogs.
I guess Pogs were a big thing. I remember them being a big thing, but yeah, that was a thing. So they brought it back in a game form.
All right,
and this could be a huge moneymaker. I mean, I can't see how it's not.
I mean, millennials be spending. Who knows?
Yeah, especially if they can get an IP that's recognizable, because I think they did the thing that a lot of companies do, which is they get an IP and they just tank their original characters.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming we're going to see a Marvel or something else later down the road in like
Oh, sure.
season 2 or season 3 of it.
Yeah. If it succeeds, yeah, why not?
Well, if you're going to be at Gen Con, you could check it out.
Yeah.
All right, that's our roll for preview.
Very cool.
All right, Anthony. Now our roll for review. What'd you play this week?
All right. So I got a game in last week that I've
Was it-
been very excited about because it is the new. I say new, but I think this game actually came out before SETI. But the other game from Thomas Holik, and I know I'm saying his name, I think Tomasz, maybe?
Yes, Tomas.
Tomasz Holik, who is the designer of SETI, right? One of my favorite games of last year. And this one came out at Essen last year, and it just took a long time to get here. Capstone brought it over. My pre-order finally came in. I got a chance to play it, and I was not necessarily expecting a SETI-like game because you can't like base like a designer makes one game and like every game is going to be like that forever, unless you're Uwe Rosenberg. That's not the case. But at the same time, it was definitely different than I expected. So this is a game in which you are an astronomer who's actively trying to discover new planets, find star systems, build up your telescope, so on and so forth. The interesting part of the game is that there's an inquisition or inquisitors who are actively like knocking on your door as you do this, and you will build up kind of a backlog of these inquisitors that give you negative points. Unless you can convince them by moving them towards your perspective, which is a cool mechanic, right? So you're going out and discovering the universe. The church is like, nuh-uh, heliocentrism is scary, and you're convincing them that it's not scary, and then those things become worth less negative points to the point where they can become worth positive points. I think that's a really cool mechanic. The game itself, though, what you're doing is you are taking turns on what is effectively just a rondel. It looks cooler than that, but it is just a rondel. So you have like a telescope that points at these different locations and it spins back and forth. And so it starts at the bottom and it goes up, and each turn you can move the telescope 1 to 3 spaces, and it kind of loops back around. It's not circular because it's a telescope. It's like in an arc, but it's a rondel. When you take an action, the tile kind of slides to the end of the row and moves up, so that action tile order changes every time. And then there's a permanent action that you're going to take every time, and then a moving action.
Yeah.
So these actions let you do a bunch of cool stuff, but none of the things are like that cool. Which I don't mean in a bad way. It's just like everything is kind of building up towards bigger things. You're not taking like this big monster turn in this game.
Yeah.
So, which again, like coming from SETI, you're like, oh, I want my big giant turn where I do like 13 things and I lose track of what I was doing. This is not that game.
Gotcha.
So it's a little smaller in scope. So what can you do on your turn? So you can put out a comet. You could discover a comet. Comets go out onto the kind of discovery board. They're going to make other things cheaper for you later. You can make a minor discovery or a constellation discovery. You can do 1 or 2 of those on your turn. And that is where you spend dice points. There are dice in the game. You never roll them. They correspond to one of 3 colors. And then you can like increase the values of them with other actions. And so you'll spend one, like maybe there's a constellation you want to discover that costs 4 blue, right? So you spend 4 blue dice worth of points, right? It could be 2 2s or a 1 and a 3 or a single 4. You spend that die, you discover that, you take off one of your tokens, you get a bonus for doing that, and now you've discovered that constellation. Ta-da!
There you go.
Or you can make a major discovery, which is a planet, and that is more expensive. And these require multiple types of dice. So these are like purple, orange, and green. So you need to have, like for purple, you need red and blue dice. At least 1 red and at least 1 blue, and then any number of others to reach that number. So if it's like purple 10, you need 3 dice that equal up to 10 and that are blue and or red. And then you get to take that card. And this is a kind of a cool part. You take that card, you put it into a slot on your board.
Uh-huh.
And then you're going to have these little book tiles that move along the columns that create from putting these cards in. So you're building out like this row of potential benefits. And you move these books over and you get other stuff. So this is a way to get dice. It's a way to move up. There's a university track, which is like in-game scoring. it's a way to get more Inquisitors knocking on your door.
Oh boy.
Which can be beneficial as well. Like there are things that like reward you for having a bunch of them, some scoring benefits. Ultimately, though, you want to move them all to the end if you can. And lets you get dice. They get these bonus tokens, the quadrants that allow you to kind of level things up a little bit, get these bonus free actions. So that's a cool little extra thing you get to do. You don't get to do it as often as I would like. And it makes sense. It's balanced. So that, like, otherwise, you're going to run them all to the end of the track. But it would be more fun if you could do it more often. All of your action tiles can be upgraded. They can be flipped over at some point. There are these 4 like objective tiles you can complete. You'll complete 2 or 3 of them in the game, in my experience. But that's basically it. You're going through and you're doing all of that. You're trying to keep the Inquisitors in line. Those Inquisitors are going to score every now and then. You move up on this other track that scores some points based on where you are, like how loved or hated you are by the church. But it has that vibe of, and it's not a bad thing, because I know some people prefer this, but it's the type of game where on your turn, everything is very small.
Okay.
Right? You're doing a few things, you're going to get a few points, occasionally get a few more points, but really the main thing you're doing is discovering these planets and constellations. That's where most of your points come from. That's where the game progression comes from. The game ends when that deck comes empty. And so it just kind of every turn feels a little bit the same. You're not building this monster tableau that's going to let you out and go out and do cool stuff. And it feels like it should be doing that, and it's not. And I can't figure out if it's my expectations or if just like the vibe of the game is telling me that I should be doing more than I am. Every now and then you play a game and you're just like, what else? Nothing else? What am I doing? Nothing? Okay. And it's not like a super short game. It's a couple hours long. I can't tell if in my brain I feel like it should be shorter or if it should be doing more on your turn. So at the end of the day, it's pretty. I like the production. It's very cool to have these different, astronomers. They all have their own special abilities, so there's some like asymmetry to start the game if you want. They have like special abilities, and some of them are pretty substantial and game breaking. Like you get to do extra stuff. Like, oh, you can discover 3 constellations instead of 2. Like that's big. That's a big thing you can do. Or you have your own special wild comet that can do crazy stuff. That's fun. That's cool. It's got the Marco Polo vibes in that way. But at the end of the day, I just didn't really feel like I was doing as much of my turn as I would like. And it just kind of became rote. And by the end of the game, I'm like, okay, we just got to get to the end of this deck and we'll be done. So it's a play for me. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed the flow of it. It just went a little long for me. Dragged a little bit in the middle. And I wish it built a little bit more on what it was doing. So it's Galileo. It's all right. It's not great. I know. I was really excited for this one. Both, like, the theme is great. It's fun.
The production, it connects very well thematically.
Yeah. It's very pretty. Everything makes sense. Like, what you're doing fits. Like, the telescope, like, they could have just had a rondelle, like a normal rondelle. We're like, nope, we're going to put a telescope. It literally moves. It's got, like, a hinge on it. You're moving the telescope, looking into the sky, taking these actions. I don't know what the dice are supposed to represent. That's pretty abstract. It doesn't make any sense, but you got to have some kind of mechanic there, I guess.
Sure.
So you're writing in your notebooks, which is cool. Like you discover a planet and you write in your notebook about it, and you get extra bonuses for doing that. You're discovering comets, which gives you bonuses because now you know part of the night sky. You know where that comet is, so you can look in that area. Like it is very thematic, and I think it works really well in a lot of that way. But I just didn't feel like I was doing enough interesting things by like the last 40 minutes of the game.
Yeah, so like you said, it sounds like you're doing the same thing more or less each turn. Just improving your dice. Not too much else. Just seems like a little.
You improve your dice. You discover things, and you move the books. That's basically it. Okay. Everything else is kind of built off of that. I think the most interesting and fun part of the game is managing the Inquisitors. Sure. They're going to come in, you have to push them down. You're trying to figure out in your head, like puzzling out, like, okay, what action can I take that's going to push the most of them down the fastest? And every time you push them down to make them worth less negative points, they activate, which is negative points.
Mm.
So it's like a really interesting kind of back and forth. Like, when do I want to activate this to make sure I get to move as many as... If I'm going to activate it, I want to move as many as I can. So I want to maximize the efficiency of that action. If I activate it and only move one guy once, that could be bad, because now I'm getting a bunch of negative points. So that's a really cool mechanic. I like that a lot.
Sure.
Everything else felt just kind of like, not on rails per se, but like, I don't know. It just, I wasn't making as many interesting decisions as I would like, especially towards the middle and end of the game.
So would you say it's a medium weight Euro?
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe it needs more?
I don't know what would... I don't want to use the word fix it, because I feel like there's probably people who would really like it.
Sure.
Because this is coming back to like what I want and expected of a Euro. I always want it to build.
Yeah.
Right? I want things to build, and the actions I take in one round have an impact in the next round. But like in an accumulative way, not just like, I grabbed some resources and now I'm spending those resources. Now I need to go get more resources and now I'm spending them again. And that's what this game feels like. Just
more of a tactical Euro where like I can get 6 points this turn, 7 points that turn, build a little bit, 8 points, 5 points, but not I am building an engine or a tableau or building up a bag of dice or workers to do like a thing that's going to like roll.
Right. And I would feel like maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the game, I chained enough stuff together where I got a little bit extra out of it, right? Like, I spent all my dice, but now I get to move these 3 things, and that got me 2 new dice, and then I get to do this, which leveled up those dice. But that's not every turn. It's not even every other turn. It's just a thing that occasionally happens if you're lucky.
Yeah, I think Euro games are really interesting because the appeal of Euro games generally is you want to feel smart with the action that you took that turn, whether it's building towards the future or you took the most advantageous action. If you're playing a worker placement game, you might have to make a decision. Am I going to go this spot or this spot? This will give me this much resources. But if I wait, or if I pull my work off, like you want to feeling smart, and it's just such a beautiful feeling. Like this works. And if you do that same thing over and over, it's great, but also, like you said, it's somewhat limiting if it doesn't spiral towards something bigger at some point. So,
right.
And it's hard. I think medium weight Euros are that weird weight class where they don't want to go too far and push people away, but light Euros are the opposite, where they're just like, we just want to give you one kind of thing to kind of think about, but nothing really much more than that.
Right, yeah, and like I see other reviews, people are like, oh, you're chaining combos into each other, and I'm like, kind of. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of bonuses here and there, but like, they don't like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm maybe being a little bit of a Euro snob, where I'm just like, oh, it doesn't chain them that well. I'm not doing that many things.
Well, like I said, either you want to feel smart taking that turn, or you want to feel smart that the previous turns that you've taken chain into something extraordinary, where it's like, boom, 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 now all this free extra stuff or action or something like that. And like, you feel like you amaze the crowd a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have this special ability, which chains with this special ability, and I get to do this now. Like, oh, wow, you jumped 10 steps ahead, or you scored, like you were talking about SETI, where, oh, now you jumped 45 points ahead. Like, yes, because I waited for that moment where all of these things would line up, and now I feel like I just created something out of nothing. So I did a little alchemy there.
Yeah.
So
I love that feeling. You're like, that 45 points took me like 13 actions, but I was building towards it for like 20 minutes, and then I pulled it off, and it was amazing.
And you feel smart. You feel like you did something, like you brought something to the game. So I think the major issue with this game, like it's a hard criticism, no pogs.
Right?
I know.
Give me a pog, a slammer with Galileo's face on it.
I think they just missed out on that. The planets could have been the pogs, and slam it with the telescope, and I don't know.
My Jupiter will destroy your Saturn.
Gravitationally, yes, it would do that, in fact.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, yes, of course. All right, well, those are our roll for review and roll for review. Now on to our feature review. Our feature review this week, of course, is the voice of the gamers. And in particular, this week, the gamers are voicing their thoughts about what expansion fixed a game that you now love. We kept out the POG questions here, Anthony, right? No POG responses? And
we had like 30, and I was like, we'll hold that for another episode.
Another episode. That's going to be a pure POG episode.
Yeah. And if you have any more POG thoughts, shoot them over. We got time.
Top 10 POG games?
Top 10 POG games.
I'm telling you. All right, Anthony, I'll leave it to you. What did everyone have to say about this fascinating subject about expansions actually fix games?
Yeah. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but like the idea here is not like what is an essential expansion, but like what expansion made a game that you thought was okay into a game you thought was amazing, right? Like you asked me, like, what would make Galileo better? I'm like, I don't know. That's a good question. What expansion would put that? Well, yeah, Pogs. Yes, Pogs. Sorry.
We've already answered this.
We answered it. I'm going back down that road. I shouldn't be going back down that road. Fine. Pogs. So give me Pogs and Galileo, and it becomes a buy. So what expansions make games into buys for people?
And back in the day, Anthony, this question was very important because it did seem, in fact, sometimes it actually was. Seems like a little bit of a conspiracy question, but sometimes when you played a base core game, it felt like, and sometimes in actuality, a designer cut off a piece of the game.
Dude, seriously.
And we were like, this is not complete. And we've called those people out. I mean, like there are literal games that are broken, and I'm not going to call any names out here. maybe our listeners will, but yeah. And so an expansion wasn't an essential part of gameplay because either the game didn't get a lot of playtime out there in design, an unpub realm, or again, like the belief that they were going to bring something out better. So seems very conspiratorial, but again, it was actually a very big part. Now it seems a little different because now you have Kickstarter where everything is like prepackaged.
Yeah.
It seems weird, but it's the thing.
Yeah. It's funny. We have one example coming up that is literally both of those things.
Yes.
Where they carved part of the game off, and it was a Kickstarter. You got both of them at the same time. So I'm like, what was the point of doing that?
I don't know.
We'll talk about it in a minute.
All right.
So let's dive in first with a game that I hate.
Oh no!
But Rodney, in good faith, Rodney Cockrell. So over on Facebook, these are the answers from Facebook. Rodney says, Xayah, Embers of the Forsaken Star. So the Embers of the Forsaken Star is the expansion that came out for Xayah back in 2017. Now, I famously not a fan. If you've never heard me talk about Xayah, not a fan. I've had several bad experiences playing this game. I understand that a lot of people love it, so not gonna shade on it now. I don't know if I've played this expansion or not. If I did, nobody told me we were playing with the expansion. So it comes with new sector tiles, new mission cards, new ships, a solo campaign, a bunch of other stuff. Rodney mentions that the economy in the base game is broken, and this expansion fixes that and makes it a must-play for them. So I'm just going to believe you, Rodney. I'm probably never playing this again, but I believe you. I trust you.
I think we have to put together a crowdfunding campaign to get you to play this game again with the expansion.
Oh, God. If we reach a certain stretch goal, yeah.
Yeah. It would have to be at least 1 million, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah. Easily.
Yeah.
I would put myself on the line for that. I would drag you with me, and you get to...
Oh, no. I don't want to play that again.
No.
I already won the first time. I don't have to play that game.
You didn't hate the game. You just have to put up with me complaining.
That's even worse.
It's like, oh my God, this guy hates this game. Yeah, I do.
Oh no, 5 hours of that?
It's for the backers.
Oh no. Don't back that, people. Don't back it. It's too much. too much.
All right. Next up, we have one that I think you and I both agree on pretty easily here. Chris Stegner says Terraforming Mars Prelude.
Yeah. It's essential. There's nothing else to be said about it.
Yeah, this is a funny one because like I played Terraforming Mars. I didn't think it was broken. And I played it maybe 50 times before Prelude came out. At no point did I think the game was broken. And then Prelude came out. And now I think it's broken without it.
100%. I mean...
I wouldn't play without it.
I would never play without it.
No.
I mean, it did... If you play solo and you get a bad set of cards to start with, and you're just like, I need to restart this.
Yeah.
Because that's a problem. If it's a game table full of people... and you get a bad set of cards to start with, you're like, I guess I have to play this.
Right.
And then you don't enjoy the first 10 rounds because all the cards in your hand are like 30 plus cost.
Yeah.
So.
No, you have to draft. You have to have Prelude.
Yes.
Everybody out there who says, no, we're not playing with the draft, go jump in a lake. Jump in the lake. Cold lake.
Yeah.
Get wet.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, the only thing that thing reminds me of is like Agricola, where they have the cards. If you don't do a draft, you're going to have a bad time. It's just, and again, you could argue too, it's just, it might be subsidizing some bad design there, because drafting doesn't necessarily solve it. It may not. Could be a thing, but yeah. No, Prelude. Prelude is the quintessential example of this.
Yeah, that's an easy one. All right, next up we have from Scott Chrisley, and then I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because Scott also posted over on Patreon.
Nice.
Railroad Revolution had an expansion called Railroad Evolution.
Yes.
So this is from What's Your Game? Rest in peace.
Oh my God, yes.
This is the company that Madeira killed, and I mean they killed it themselves by messing up that campaign so bad. But
revenge. I'm calling revenge.
And maybe this game will come back because Nippon, I thought Nippon was dead forever. It's currently on Kickstarter making $1 million or whatever it's doing because they got the rights back. It's been 10 years. So hopefully this one comes back as well. This is from Marco Canetta and Stefania Nicolini. It's a very good game.
It's a very good game. I like it a lot.
I have it. I have the expansion. I didn't realize how rare the expansion was, and that's why I still have it. So
I don't know if I have the expansion. I have the base game. But I even liked it at the base game, but it did have problems.
It's a good game, but I remember playing it a couple times and thinking, like, actually, you know what happened is I bought the game. It showed up. It was missing all of the little wooden track pieces. I had to message them, and they shipped them from Europe by post.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't actually play the game for about 4 months after I got it. That's how long it took me to get the missing pieces. And then I finally played it, and I was like, oh, this is very good. So the expansion, though, really, it comes in and adds like a bunch of stuff. Like, it really does feel like it was missing from the core game. Like, it got out in the world, people played it, and they're like, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And the designers were like, oh, good call. So it has a better, more interesting scoring system for the telegraph connections, which before didn't really work right. Wagons and tenders connect to the trains in order to make them more powerful. So just make that a little more dynamic in the play. And then the scoring system is now a little more customizable. And then you have player board extensions as well. There's a bunch of stuff added in here, but ultimately it streamlines and improves scoring and makes the most fundamental part of the game, the trains, more interesting, which it's a game about trains, so it should be.
Yeah, I remember we reviewed this and talked about this, and I believe this was on my top 100 several years back, and it was broken. There's some broken elements to the base game,
right?
It gets fixed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's resolved. So yeah, as Scott says, Railroad Revolution was a good game, but Railroad Evolution made it a much better game.
100%. Super agree on that.
All right. Next up, we have Eric House, who just says Ix. Doesn't say Dune Imperium. Doesn't say Rise of Ix. Just Ix. That's all you need to know.
Dude, if you know Ix, that's all you have to say.
You know Ix. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Dune Imperium has 3 expansions. This is by far the most essential of those, I think.
Right? I agree. Yes.
Like, the others are nice to have. This one is, like, get this one.
Yeah, and I do think it makes the base game better. I think the base game without this expansion is not nearly as good as the new revised version.
Right. Yeah, like the new technology options, the dreadnoughts, those are great.
Dreadnoughts are awesome.
Yeah. The infiltrators, it's a cool thing. Like, just a cool mechanism. They added like a whole new game mode, the epic game mode. So like just kind of adds more depth to the play. It's a really good it reminded me of what the expansion for Star Wars Rebellion did.
Sure.
Where it opened up the scoring mechanism, it really made certain elements of the thematic play more interesting, without making the game longer or more complicated. So yeah, Rise of X for sure.
Nice.
All right, heading over to Blue Sky, we've got good old Game Master Dave, friend of the show, going old school with Advanced Civilization.
Hey, Dave.
um,
Agreed.
Advanced Civilization, yeah. I mean, this is like an all-timer, like upgrade to Francis Tresham's Civilization, to the point where people are still making versions of it 40 years later.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I would never play the game without it.
Yeah. And then we mentioned this before, so we're going to jump into it now. Board Game Hot Takes podcast. They wrote back and they said the Fireland expansion for Darwin's Journey.
Yes.
Took a highly ranked Euro for me and put it into my top 10 by showing how the basic system of the game could be taken advantage of to add a lot of variety and support additional mechanisms like time and expeditions.
Well, I feel validated here, Anthony, because I went hard on this, and people were like, no, you're crazy, man. But I was not crazy.
You're not crazy.
No.
This is the one I was talking about, too, where, like, it's a Kickstarter campaign. You get all this stuff together, but once you play the base game, you're like, it feels like it's missing some stuff. You play with Firelands, you're like, oh, that's all the stuff that's missing.
It's 100% all the stuff that was missing.
Like, oh, now it's an amazing game.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just keep it all together? Why did you rip this apart? Like, obviously the expansion was done because it shipped with the game.
It did. The game is one of those situations. The game allows you to do a lot of different things to score points, but primarily it's either you're scoring points in the top part, and again, there's a couple of different mechanisms with that, or the bottom part of the board, which is the exploration.
Right.
The exploration is boring as all get out because you only have one person exploring and one ship, and it also does not score you a lot of points and does a lot of things. And the new board adds, I think it's two people exploring 2 boats out there, and now it's finally a full game.
Yeah.
So 100% agree on that. That was a weird review that I did way back in the day. I was like, you're not going to believe this, but like it's kind of a play, but it's a buy with the expansion.
Yeah. Was that even like the same week? I feel like you played it and then you played it maybe a week later and you came back and said, actually, it's a buy now.
Yeah. And I've ranted about this quite a lot because I think they almost tanked their own game. If they did not release the expansion with it, this game would have been forgotten.
Yeah.
Because it's just a generic game. And this game took a long time to get to backers.
Right.
And I backed it with all the other stuff on the nonsense on there too. I will recommend play with all the expansion stuff, even the small little bits like the Darwin token and a couple of the other little minor things, because I think it just fills the game out.
Yeah.
So this seems like, again, going back to the conspiracy theory where they created a prototype and it was like a beta or an alpha version. And then later they were like, we need to upgrade the board and we need to add a couple of things that makes the game good. But also maybe they wanted to sell it at a cheaper price if someone just picked up the base game. But the base game is not, it's forgettable, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember playing it like a month later and being like, what is this? And you're like, yes, Firelands, though. And I'm like, oh, I should do that.
100%.
Yeah.
I would never play without it. Not even a question.
Yeah. All right, next up we have Rolling Reggie on Blue Sky. They say, first thing that comes to mind is Alpine expansion for Forest Shuffle.
Okay.
Mostly just adding more cards and strategies while diluting the OP wolves and deer.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I should love that game. I want to love that game, but the base game itself is just it's just not a thing. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's just for a lot of reasons, including, the OP strategy there.
Yeah, it's not a game I've really played much, but it sounds like there's some stuff that doesn't work. So
again, I haven't played the expansion, so thank you. I will definitely check it out with the expansion now.
All right, cool. All right, heading over to Patreon. Our Patreon backers can also reply to this question. We've got John Hench who says,
"Hey, John,
we've just started playing Champions of Midgard in one of my game groups. It's a good game, but the Valhalla upgrade adds a whole new level of tactics."
100% agree. Yeah, not even a question.
Yeah, Champions of Midgard, like base game, it really just feels like, oh, it's like a base level worker placement game on par with Lords of Waterdeep, but with dice,
and even less so.
Yeah.
It's even a little bit lesser of a game without that expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. They also mentioned 2 others they want to call out. Rise of Fenris for Scythe.
1,000% agree.
Yeah. I still haven't played that.
I can't tell you. Anthony and I were just talking off mic before we started. Like, I made this gigantic prediction out of nowhere about how big Scythe was going to be, and it's a fine game, but it's so radically better with the expansion Rise of Fenris. And I don't mean with the campaign. You could play the campaign. I recommend playing them with the campaign, but the base game is so much better for so many reasons. Again, there's some spoilers in there, so I don't want to give that away, but it's so much better. So if you're about to throw your Scythe out the window, find somebody that has Rise of Fenris, play that, and then make that decision.
Literally, the only reason I still own this game is because you keep telling me that, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to hold on until I play it. I have all the stuff. I'm just like, I don't know. Base game. Every time I play it, I'm like, all right, I won by 100 points because I know how the game works and it's solvable. Expansions, I got to get in there.
Yeah.
John also mentions Leaders Pack for Arnak. So
sure, agreed.
That Leaders expansion for sure is huge.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, over on Patreon, we have one of our most recent backers, Weather But in Space. They have a lengthy answer here. Right. Hear me out. You know when you play Azul for the first time and you were like, yummy looking clacky tiles. Check.
Yes.
Interesting decisions and strategic gameplay. Check.
Yes.
But what is it with these flimsy single-ply player boards?
100%.
One table bump and the entire game has to be reset. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. That's why the Azul Crystal Mosaic expansion fixed the game. Let me remind you, since all the Azul undescriptive words titles are impossible to immediately identify, that the Azul Crystal Mosaic expansion brought new player boards, but more importantly, plastic see-through trays. These trays can be placed over the player boards and had sockets for all the important pieces, from your point tracker to all the tiles, table bump away. I forgot this was an expansion because I've had it. I own 2 copies of Azul still. I have base Azul and I have Summer Pavilion, and I have the crystal mosaic tiles for both sets. And they're just in the boxes. I don't think about it. I forgot that the base game just came with like the flat sheets and everything flew all over the place. So yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I haven't played my copy in a while, and I think I mentioned recently that I played it with my family, and I completely forgot that the baseboards were just flimsy, basically paper.
Yeah.
And you're putting the tiles on there, and it doesn't feel right whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is wrong. Why did I not remember this being as wrong? It's because people usually have that expansion.
Yeah. No, it is great, and it's a little overpriced for what it is, like $25 for just some plastic to put over here. That probably should come with the game at this point, but
it should come with the game. It's a travesty that it doesn't come with the game.
Yeah, but like when it first came out, fine, it didn't exist before, but now that it is, like, package it together. Well, but it is very important. You should get it.
It's essential because again, the tiles are very thick.
Yeah,
they're not cardboard chits that will sit on the table. Like, these will fly off if you bump or bang or.
Oh yeah.
It's just because they slide but nice and easily, which is bad.
Yeah.
And then if they do move, and you're just like, well, what did I do? I don't know. And this is also a criticism for Terraforming Mars. With remember those paper boards from the original?
Yep.
Those are bad.
Yep. And that's still what comes in the box.
That's not okay, people.
No. Yeah, you gotta buy the upgrade still, which is stupid.
Nope. That's not cool.
Yep. All right. So that's everybody. That's all of our input this week. Thank you, everybody who wrote in. It's just great to hear what you think. I think we both agree with almost all of these.
100%.
Several that I would think of were also mentioned here. So some good stuff out there.
I was not expecting as many POG, but I'm glad you filtered that out for this episode.
Oh, yeah. No, later. We're coming back to the POGs later.
Okay.
It's happening.
That'll be a whole episode on POGs.
Yeah.
POG-based gaming.
Maybe 2 episodes.
Imagine that stack of cards in Terraforming Mars and you hit it with a slammer.
Oh, my God.
Whoosh.
I kind of want to do that now.
Oh,
no. A YouTube video.
Everything's pogs now, people. Look out.
Gonna hit eBay. Like, I need a really cheap slammer. It can have Alf on it or something. It's fine.
That's going to be a very problematic game at Gen Con when people start playing that. Things are going to be flying left and right. People are going to be yelling at each other. Very, very tight space and gigantic plastic tokens getting thrown at each other.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Good luck, people.
Good luck.
All right, everyone. Until next time, this is Chris.
And this is Anthony.
And we'll save you all a seat at the table. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Hey there, Hugh from Moderation here. If you like today's show, then why not have a listen to Why We Roll, the dedicated TTRPG design podcast. It's hosted by Wythe and Chris, two professional TTRPG designers, and it's all about talking to the people that make our favourite games in the tabletop world and understanding what goes into that decision-making process, how you build something that's not just fun to play, but fun to experience, and we're not talking about how we roll, but learning why exactly we make those decisions. Check it out on our website at podderation.com.